everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Simplify Your Life Summit. My name is Justin Croscare, and I'm your host. And today I'm joined by Angela Atkins. She is the founder of Your Health Unbound, one of the top certified integrative health and nutrition coaches who's been on CNN, Oprah Winfrey Network, and much more. Thank you so much for being on here, Angela. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Justin. I'm happy to be here. It's wonderful to meet you.
Yes, definitely. I would love to hear, it's always interesting to hear where these different experts and speakers come from to really get to where they're at now. So when it comes to health, where did your health journey really start?
Well, honestly, I grew up being a fairly healthy child in most respects, but I had things that I didn't realize until much later in life that they were contributing towards what I currently have. I got sick, I would say, in my mid-40s, and I was almost debilitated by stomach issues and chronic fatigue. Come to find out, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, had the pain points, and was really unable to really maintain a healthy lifestyle. And I was pretty much just existing, going day to day. And I really felt I needed to overcome that because I wasn't having a happy life. And I think we all want to live that life where we feel truly fulfilled and truly happy. And so I began searching. There had to be an answer for me. And what I discovered was basically my issues were related to the food I was eating. And that came much later after lots of discovery. I did lots of research. And I found out that part of my symptoms were that I had celiac disease. And it wasn't until after that discovery that I said, need to change the way I eat, and felt better. And in the process, I lost 55 pounds in about 6 months without really doing anything else except eating correctly. And so because of that, I developed my own protocols, how to do what you need to do to eat fairly well. And I call that my nutrition prescription. And this is what I help my clients with.
That is so awesome. And I would love to hear more about that nutrition prescription and really what that involves and what that entails and what it's doing for your clients as well.
Certainly. Well, again, food is just one aspect. That's the physical aspect. We need to nourish our bodies. And in order to do that, we need to eat well and not just eat anything, but eat food that fuels our cells and that gives us energy. So that's the one part of the picture that most people realize, that I've got to eat better to feel better. But the other parts are you need to be emotionally, mentally balanced also. You need to have that ability to feel good, feel that happiness in your life. And then there's also a spiritual component. Whether or not you believe in any higher being, we do have a spiritual nature, and it's all part of who we are in this universe. Not to get so esoteric, but it's true, we're all part of the energy of the universe, so you do have to have that as part of the balance in your life. And additionally, the fourth component that I look at is relational. And even if you don't have a partner or a spouse, you do have relationships in your life. You have people you work with, maybe family members, other people you come in contact with, and that's all who you have to deal with in relations. So you have to be able to establish that makes you feel whole, not accepting a lot of negativity and not giving a lot of negativity. And that helps again with balance. So those four pillars I look at, being in balance brings your whole body into alignment.
So true. And the last one, a relationship, it always comes to mind when I hear and talk about relationship is if you think about, a prison, right? The worst convicts will go into solitary confinement. So if the worst punishment, other than death penalty, obviously, is going into having no relationship at all, that really shows like how important it is as human beings to have that relationship with others and continue to build that. So yes, that's extremely powerful.
That's a key human factor, being able to relate to another person. And many people who come out of solitary confinement do have difficulties adjusting to society again. So whether or not that is an appropriate punishment, I can't say. I mean, I'm not in that realm. But as a human being, I look at it being very, very detrimental to a person as a whole.
Yeah. And just the aspect of that being the worst case scenario, like really amplifies the power in relationships. What would you say right now is the number one health issue today that people are really struggling with?
Well, I think as a global issue, it is obesity and diabetes. They tend to go hand in hand. And I view that because I'm looking at it from the nutrition perspective mostly. That's my background. And so in order to help alleviate that, I feel like it's my duty to get out there and let people know that there are simple tweaks to your life that can help overcome that and help reduce that epidemic of diabetes. Diabetes is Dr. Hyman's term. I'm using that as it's become an accepted term of diabetes and obesity together, which really do go hand in hand.
Yeah. So would those simple steps be like, I mean, I know there's sugar-free soda and there's fat-free foods, you know, that's some simple changes, right?
Unfortunately, they're not the changes I recommend. When they take something out, when they make something fat-free, they're taking that fat, and fat usually is where the flavor is. And so they're substituting something that gives you flavor. Normally that's some sort of sugar, even if it's an artificial flavoring, artificial sweetener. That's not really healthy for you. Same way with putting in the sugar-free sodas or whatever. They're taking away a natural sweetener, sugar, which we shouldn't have a lot of, but natural is much better than artificial because artificial is a chemical, and our bodies weren't meant to really deal with chemicals. We're meant to deal with the real ingredients, real food. And so if you have to make a choice, my choice is find the natural, but reduce the sugar intake, reduce the thing that's going to cause the obesity. And we found now excessive sugar does increase obesity, and it is also implicated in things like Alzheimer's, which are calling type 3 diabetes.
Wow. So it's really important to get, especially with Alzheimer's, you know, being majority later in life, right? It's so important what we do now. And that's why I've really taken health into my life. And I love how you speak on various different areas. Why is it so important to not just focus solely on nutrition? Why is it important to have those other realms like you do for your nutrition prescription?
Because we're whole human beings. And if any one part of our life is not in alignment, then it does set the other ones off. So if you're having a bad relationship, you may seek solace in food, and so you take that other pillar out of balance, the physical part, and then that could lead to some doubt about yourself, your own, you know, connection with the world, and that could bring you into a spiritual crisis. They're all related. So if you don't look at them and look at yourself as a whole being, you tend to be a little bit off balance, and that's where that alignment is so important.
So when you work with your clients, right, and they're coming to you and maybe they're, you know, out of balance, which a lot of us are, right? I know that happens even for me personally from time to time, and that's where I get to correct. Where do you typically start? What are some simple steps that these viewers, these listeners can take to start working on the different areas? Would it be an assessment? Would it be going deeper with themselves?
Well, that's usually what I do first with my clients. I do have an assessment. I find out what their history is. What were you like in the past? What were your health issues? What are your current health issues? Where do you want to be in the future? And then we map out a plan how to get there. You certainly can do that yourself, but most people are too close to it. They need a third party that's a little more objective, and that's why a coach is helpful. They can look at you and they're invested in your getting better and reaching your goals, but they're not so invested that it's so personal to them that they can't see where you may have a blind spot. I mean, for me, I didn't see for years that my blind spot was I was eating the wrong food, but it tasted so good and I felt so good after I ate it for a little while, but the long-term health issues caused greater implications. So I had to step back and look at it and say, what's going to get me what I need long term? I don't want to just be happy for the 10 minutes that I'm eating. I want to have a full life and feel better. And so if you look at that and you want to do this yourself, the simple thing is, what am I doing that is actually giving me the best shot at having a long and happy life? That may be taking some time, by yourself, having some contemplation about what that is. Maybe just having a list of the pros and cons of your life. Like, hey, I'm really happy with my job. I've got a great spouse, but on the other side, I want to lose 30 pounds and I don't exercise. How can I work these two together? And you might be able to talk to your spouse. And I'm saying this because this is my true story. I went to my husband, who is the primary cook, and said, I'm really unhappy because I'm very overweight. I'm chronically tired. I'm tired of feeling achy because of the fibro. I was tired of feeling achy and not being able to live a full life. Let's change the way we eat and see how it works. And working together is how we accomplished what we did. Not only did I get better, he didn't need to lose weight, in my opinion, but he did naturally, because your body will just shed excess weight when it doesn't need it. And so he lost weight, I lost weight, we felt better, we were able to enjoy more activities together, which made our life together happier.
And that's such a pillar, right? Is that relationship, especially when it's a spouse. So that's amazing.
But I don't want people to think who don't have spouses or don't have significant others that it's not important for them, because it is, because you have to live with yourself. You are your primary, you need to take care of yourself. Self-care is so important. And so if you keep saying that I don't have anybody to do this with or for, that's not true. You are the most important. And anybody else in your life, you could have a partner there in some way, whether that partner is just to support you, saying, hey, I'm really looking to make a small change in my life. Will you help me be accountable? And you may have a best friend that says, sure, what do you need me to do? And you say, well, every day I'm going to send you an email what I ate today. Can you look at it and kind of give me, what do you think? And that could just be that friend saying, hey, did really good job. You cut down. You stopped drinking 3 sodas a day and now you're drinking 1. Not that I'm promoting sodas, because I think they should all go, but it's certainly a starting point.
Yes. What would you say for, because I have this come up a lot with my clients and also just other people in my life, when it comes to making that transition, because nowadays it's not just what you're eating, but also the different things that you're putting on your body, right? Lotions, shampoo, all these different things. But specifically with eating, now with the way that food is manufactured, it's meant to taste amazing. What are some ways that you support people in making that switch when they're trying to get past that taste? Because natural food does take a little bit to, get to actually enjoy. And then once you start feeling good, you start enjoying it. But that first little bit, maybe the first month or two, what are some ways you support your clients in that?
Well, I find that many people are just not aware of what food, and I call that food-like substances. They're really not food because they're not fueling your cells well. So if you have some food that you're eating that maybe is excessively salty, you're going to have trouble eating food that doesn't have that. So you're going to have to learn to scale down, maybe take a piece of protein, whether it's meat or whatever you eat, and learn to season it appropriately, meaning you learn by doing, using less and less until you reach the point where it tastes appropriate but not as excessive. There are many ways of doing it. For me, it was adding fat in my diet. I was a sugar eater, heavy sugar eater, and that's part of the reason why I got sick and part of the reason why I had so much trouble with food itself. It had to have that sweetness, and most of the manufactured food is that way because we're basically built to like sweet. So by adding fat back in my diet helped break that, and I was able to eat more foods that were sustainable, cooking with coconut oil, eating things with avocados in it instead of some other fruit. It gave me the creamy fat content that was satisfying, and I didn't have to eat anymore, and your taste buds begin to change. Once you learn to adjust to the right food, you no longer need that sweetness. So if I were to go, I can't even imagine drinking a soda. It would be so sickeningly sweet to me, I probably just couldn't do it. But that's what will happen. Your taste buds will change and adjust, and so it won't be that dramatic, in the second, but over time as you build that, learning to adjust, cooking for yourself, removing things slowly, you'll just be able to change the way your body wants food, and it will crave more of what you really need.
Yeah, That's so, you just reminded me. So yesterday, I got, my girlfriend loves See's candy, and I got her some See's candy, which is always tough for me to do because I know how the sugar is, but it was a special day. So got her that, and I had one piece for myself, and it was amazing how quickly I felt it was super rich. I got a headache, my stomach hurt, like all these different things. So it's amazing how quickly your body will react to those things when it didn't before. Before I'd be able to probably take down a whole box.
I'm
But
right
now
there
my
with
body
you.
has,
I have been in that space, but I tell you, it is not easy. I want to be very simple. You have to be committed to it. And I think once you reach the point that you say, I'm committed to living a longer, healthier life, it will make it easier. For me, it was taking one thing at a time. If I were to try to do it all, it would be too difficult. Having been diagnosed with celiac disease, I think made it easier, honestly, because now I said I cannot eat the breads, I cannot eat the pastries, the donuts, whatever. And it was simply, I looked at them and I determined for myself, these are poison to my body. And so if you just identify what the poisons are for your body, that's it. Kind of the easiest way to do it. Now I look at when people offer me things, and they're doing it out of kindness, obviously. They offer me something. In my brain, I just say, that's really poison to me. And I say, no, thank you. And it's so much simpler. I don't even have to think about it. The first thing I say is, no, thank you. And I be polite about it. And then if they ask me, I'll just say, my body doesn't do well with it. I just move on. And people don't, they accept that. They're not offended by it. And I grew up in a household, believe me, I grew up in an Italian household where grandma was always saying, mangia, mangia, and you had to eat more and more. And it really wasn't healthy for me, not knowing back then that, all that gluten and, pasta was just tearing up my small intestine. And nowadays, with people's awareness, you can just say, it really doesn't, it's not good for my health. And people accept that. So it does make it a little bit easier. Just simply say no first. And then if you think about it, 20 minutes later, you're like, yeah, I really want to try that. You might say, I'll just take a piece, and then you give yourself that taste, but you don't have to eat anymore. So if you don't have celiac disease like I do, you might want to have a taste of that cake or whatever it is. And I'm certainly not opposed on special holidays or birthdays or whatever. Celebrating, that's all part of life. You might as well enjoy the good stuff, but don't make it a lifestyle. That's really the whole key there.
that is. And it's funny when you celebrate, so I'll do both realms. I'll put myself in the future, like, okay, do I want to eat this because of how I'm going to be feeling, if it's healthy food? And then I also do the opposite, especially when it comes to the holidays. Okay, i.e. chocolate. Do I really want to eat this because I know how I'm going to be feeling after? It's kind of like with alcohol. I definitely don't have that as much because as I've grown older, the hangovers are not the same. So I don't like it. And, it used to be a few drinks on the weekend. Now it's rare, just because I put myself in the future and feel that feeling of what my body's going to feel like. Something I'm curious, because I'm sure your whole family, friends all know what you do, and they may do the same thing as they do with me when it comes to nutrition labels and reading them and deciphering what's good, what's bad, what you're going to choose. What are some key things that you look out for that you teach your clients to look out for?
Well, that's a really key issue. And thanks for bringing that up, because the first thing I always say, go for real food. It shouldn't have a package or a label. When you go into the produce aisle, rarely do you see it packaged. Occasionally you get like 2 cucumbers packaged together, but they're real cucumbers. They're not some manufactured product. They actually came from the earth. And that's what you're looking for. What is naturally available to you that's not in a box or a package or was manufactured? That's your first choice. And that's why people say, shop the perimeter of the store. That's where the unpackaged, unmanufactured foods are. When you go up and down the aisles, you're going to see the boxes and bags of things that have all these chemicals and all these additional ingredients on the label. And so if there are certain things that you do buy, I say first thing when you're starting out, read the label. If it's got more than 5 ingredients, just put it back on the shelf. It probably isn't real food. That's a good start. And then from there on, you should just learn how to read the labels. Learn what those extensions mean. So you may have a whole bunch of words on them and you're like, I have no idea what's in this. And so if you just kind of have an awareness that anything that has a dash OSE at the end of it, that's a sugar. So it may say 1 gram of sugar, but then it has maltodextrin and sucrose and all these other names. They're additional sugars that they're not telling you about because they're only required to label the things that are sugar in that package. So just the awareness of what ingredients are and looking for food that's in its natural state is your first best bet.
I love that. So how do we identify those toxins that keep us fat and keep us unhealthy?
Well, the simple thing is your body will tell you. First off, I get people talking to me all the time about, if I eat a certain food, I feel this way. Well, the food itself may not be toxic, but it may have a toxic effect on your body. So that's why I say it is a toxin for you, but not for everybody. For me, gluten is a toxin. It creates damage in my body. And so I have to be aware what that does to me. And that's what I'm telling people. Have the awareness. You shouldn't feel good after you eat. You shouldn't feel sick or, have some kind of feeling that makes you not want to do something. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, when I eat certain things, it just gives me heartburn, as if that's normal. Well, it's not normal. So how about trying not eating that and see how it feels not to get the heartburn? Isn't that the way you want to feel? And that just gives people an idea of how that food makes them feel. And so toxins can come in many forms. Like you said before, it could be lotions. With women, many of them get up every day and put on a face. And those chemicals or the things that are the components in the makeup can cause reactions on your skin. Now, the body is going to try somehow to release those toxins. In food, it will stick a toxin in a fat cell, and that's why you get added fat cells when you're eating poorly. Or if it's something that's coming out as a skin eruption, it's trying to release it. So the goal is to reduce that. There are plenty of makeups out there nowadays that don't have certain chemicals or toxic elements to them. I say try those first. Another way is try going natural. We weren't made to always look like we're, on stage all the time. So a little bit is good if you want to look, have that look to you. But too much, you're basically clogging up your natural skin pores. You're asking your body to do something that it can't do. It naturally needs to breathe. So look for those things that don't have chemicals in them. Look for things that are going to give you the normal, natural response that your body needs to have.
That makes sense. Natural, what we're all made out of. When it comes to immune system, which is something very prominent right now, what are some ways or some foods that we can boost that immune system so that we can keep our health and be able to overcome, any kind of flu or anything like that quickly?
Sure, there are a lot of viruses out there, and people who have a compromised immune systems should really pay attention to their nutrition, because the first thing that has to be strong is your gut microbiome. That whole ecosystem living inside your gut, if it is not healthy enough, you can't adequately fight off these viruses. Now, I know different people handle sickness in different ways, but if you look at them, if they're overall, they eat well, they're generally healthy, they exercise, they tend to get less sick. Or if you're going to come in contact with the virus, more than likely you're going to have some reaction to it, because they do try to, get a hold of your immune system. But if it's strong enough, you can fight it more easily. People who have foods that are rich in vitamin C or vitamin D, and I'm not talking about milk, because that is not the type of vitamin D we're looking at. We're looking at D3, things like eggs, frozen vegetables, salmon. You need that kind of fortification naturally, not something that is taken from the product when it's made and then pushed back in as a additive. That's not the way we want it. We want something that's natural. So you want things with vitamin C, such as fruits and vegetables. And people are always saying, well, I can't have enough, especially if I can't get to the store. Frozen vegetables are great. They're frozen right after they're picked. They maintain their nutrient value. So sure, stock up on frozen vegetables. Don't stock up on the canned goods, because they have excessive salt, and that's not going to really be helpful for your gut microbiome overall. Looking at things that are simple snacks, have assorted nuts. and you want them raw. You don't want them dry, roasted, or salted. You want to get the good oils, the good fats from those nuts. And in order to do that, you need them in their raw state. So there's just a few options.
I love those. And I know so many of our viewers right now are going to be wondering and probably want to dive deeper into, reading nutrition labels and different things like that. I would love for you to share the gifts that you do have for all the viewers and listeners, because that's really exciting. I'm going to take a peek myself and check that out as well.
I've actually decided to bundle two of my gifts because I think in this day and age, it's more than just food, obviously. Understanding nutrition labels is extremely important. As I said, there's a lot of chemicals. You have to understand how those amounts on the label work. And they're listed in grams. We don't have that system. We have an imperial system. So using a metric label doesn't really convert in people's head. So I've given how that ratio works out, how to figure out what that means. What does 5 grams of something mean in our own system? Plus, the other component is stress. We really need to start looking at simple ways to de-stress. We do so much. We try to cram so much into our lives, and yet we don't take time for ourselves. So I'm going to put those two together, that there's one to learn, decoding nutrition labels and resetting your stress for success, because that's what we need to be. We need to be successful in our lives. And the only way to do that is, again, that complementary thing, all the different levels, not just the food, and putting them together to have the ability to simply maintain a better way of life without doing any major changes.
And you may have already mentioned it, but I'd love to hear one tip that these viewers, these listeners can take away right after viewing this that could change their health, their mindset. And you may have already mentioned it, or it might be something that you haven't said that you are just really adamant about. What would that one tip be, that simple tip that they can take away right now?
Well, I think for people, grocery shopping is such an enormous task, because now people are like, do I buy organic? Do I buy this? And they think organic is so expensive. Everyone calm down. We can make simple tweaks here. If you're not buying the heavily sugar-laden foods like the sodas and the candies, save that money and invest it in the organic. And the simple way to look at it, if you go in the grocery store, they have the labels, the PLU labels that have digits on them. If it's a 4-digit number beginning with the number 4, it's not organic. It is a conventional product that may have been sprayed with pesticides, hence you're going to get toxins. And then there are other ones that have 5 digits begin with a 9 that are organic. That's a simple visual for you. Now, you want to go a little deeper than that, I suggest going out to the environmental working group and look at the lists. What are the vegetables, fruits and vegetables you can buy that have the least amount of pesticides? They're the clean 15, and they're the ones you don't have to worry whether or not they're organic. And there's the dirty dozen, those that you should buy organic simply because they are heavily sprayed and you're going to be eating them without removing a skin, such as strawberries. You should probably buy strawberries organic. But if you're buying avocados, they have that hard outer surface that you can easily remove and have an unblemished inside. It's just those simple things, I think, to make it easier right from the beginning.
Yeah. And that environmental working group, that's ewdg.org, correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
and just look for
the
Dirty Dozen Clean 15.
Perfect. And then so for any of the viewers that want to find you online or on social media, where would they find you?
Well, my website is yourhealthunbound.com, and I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I chose to keep it narrow because I could spend my entire life doing nothing but social media, but what I'd rather do is work with clients. And so you can find, if you go to yourhealthunbound.com, you can just follow the links to where I am on each site. It's pretty simple. I try to just tell you the best that I can what is the latest nutrition science, what I think that it should be the focus that I'm looking at today. I'm talking, in my latest posts, I'm talking about autoimmunity, how to eat well if you have it. So I'm really invested in people I have a group of people on the autoimmune spectrum where we talk nothing but about how to build our immune systems and feel better and live a longer life with still having either the autoimmune condition, because many people have to live lifetime with it like I do, or finding a way to reversing it and getting better. So I think that's the way to do it. Just start at my website, yourhealthunbound.com. There's a contact there if you want to talk to me. I respond personally to all my email.
Awesome. That is so great. And thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it, and very excited for the reviews and all the feedback I hear, and I'm sure you'll hear as well from this recording. Again, thank you. You are changing the world one client at a time. Multiple people right here, everyone getting to hear your message. So greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Justin.
Yep.